By means of this meritorious deed, may I never join with the foolish, may I join always with the wise, until the time I attain Nibbana. May the suffering be free from suffering, may the fear-struck be free from fear, may the grieving be free from grief, so too may all beings be. From the highest realm of existence to the lowest, may all beings arisen in these realms, with form and without form, with perception and without perception, be released from all suffering and attain to perfect peace. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Now, friends, it's time for you to ask your question. One of my friends, either Prashant or Veronique, will read questions for me because it is difficult for me to read questions, and you may write your question on chat box or ask them verbally, and if I cannot hear them well, one of them will repeat questions for me. Okay.
Okay, Bhante, can you hear me?
Right, I can hear you.
Okay, so we have a few questions. We have some that we received by email.
Uh-huh.
So I'll start with that. If one has deep concentration, the mind opens up and the mind sees impermanence. It is not once, but quite a number of times the insight of impermanence. It is not the eyes that see or think about impermanence. What is the next step that I should do in the practice?
I see. You must see impermanence not only in your eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body and mind. You must see impermanence in the 5 aggregates: form, feeling, perception, volition and consciousness. Even from them, it is better for you to see impermanence in sankhara, volition. It is because of not seeing impermanence in volition, in sankhara, people get stuck with greed. Greed arises because of your not seeing impermanence in the sankhara. There are 3 kinds of sankhara: physical, verbal and mental. Now at this level, you have to see impermanence of mental sankhara. That is the most difficult thing. What are the mental sankhara? Perceptions and feeling, sanya, vedana. Sanya is perception. Sanya is like mirage. Buddha said, marichi kupama sanya. In mirage you don't find any permanent real thing. Mirage appears like water. When you go closer, there is no water. Similarly, this perception, sanya, arises and passes away so quickly, giving you an image of something exists. Something exists is not real. Nothing really can exist except rising and falling. So you must see rising and falling of your mental states, sanya and vedana. Vedana is like bubbles. bubbles appear and disappear. Bubbles doesn't stay the same. Like in water, when rain drops drop on water, you can see bubbles rising and then disappearing. Similarly, feelings arise and disappear. And therefore, you have to see impermanence in them with your concentrated state of mind. I said concentration in our explanation is not something that makes you like a stone or rock or something fixed. Concentration is very active state, most subtle state of mind that is so sharp with mindfulness, since we are practicing mindfulness together with concentration. Mindfulness shows how things appear and disappear. Concentration focuses the mind on that rising and falling. And their sankhara, rising and falling, is the awareness of rising and falling of sankhara is the most important thing. You may ask people questions. Don't ask anybody any question. You look at your own mind impartially, squarely and fairly. No words, no concept, no ideas. Just pay total, undivided, mindful, concentrated mind. Then you will see rising and falling, rising and falling. Then what happened? Greed will not have room to arise. No space for greed to arise. No space for anger or hatred to arise. No space is there for delusion or ignorance to arise. And that is how you attain Nibbana, by seeing this reality. Once you attain Nibbana, you may still continue seeing rising and falling of everything more clearly without any scruple of desire to attach to them. And therefore that is the most important thing to pay attention and see rising and falling, impermanence. Another question.
Do greed, hatred, and delusion arise together, or is one more dominant than the other? Are the 7 asavas woven into the 5 aggregates of clinging, or do the asavas arise at the level of contact, of feeling, or perception?
I think this underlying tendencies called asava can arise in any of those states, any state, in so long as you have aggregates of clinging. As I mentioned, we have to make the distinction between 5 aggregates and 5 aggregates of clinging. You have to liberate your 5 aggregates from aggregates of clinging. They are called aggregates of clinging because of asava, kamasava, bhavasava and so forth. And therefore this clinging or asava can arise in all the aggregates: form, feeling, perception, thought and consciousness, eye, ear, nose, mind and body and mind, and through form, sound, smell, taste, sight and touch and mind objects. In any of these places, if you are not mindful these asavas can arise. And there is no one single place where asava does not arise. Any place, any time, anywhere, if you are not mindful. What is mindfulness? Mindfulness is paying attention to the mind. When the mind and when the senses and sensory objects come together, something happens in the mind, and look at that mind. Some people say paying attention to what you are doing is mindfulness. No. Pay attention to the mind when you do something. It is in the mind. All aggregates are in the mind, and therefore it is the mind that tries to cling to aggregates, and it is the mind that makes it looks very distorted. Or the perception arises in the mind as distorted perception through eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind object. So, clinging or asava, all the 7 asavas can arise in the mind. You see, mind is very smart in proliferating, conceptual proliferation. When we are born, the body cells proliferates, multiplies, and eventually come out of the womb as a body, a baby. Similarly, mind proliferates thoughts, proliferates perceptions, sanya, trillions and trillions of perceptions arise and multiply in our mind through our 6 senses. And therefore this multiplication, proliferation takes place due to our asava and anusaya. You see in Madhu Pindika Sutta, this phenomenon is clearly explained. Chakkuncha paticca rupecha uppajjakkuncha siddha sangita passo paspacha vedana yang vede tan sanjanati yang sanjanati tang papancheti. So papancha sanya sanka samudacharati atita anagata, so forth. We are dragged here and there by our conceptual proliferation, happen all in the mind. So this is a very, very important moment to keep the mind clear and stop the mind proliferating concepts. Look at the mind, pay attention to it, and try to stop it right then and stop proliferation right then and there as one concept arises before it multiplies. Nip in the bud. Next question.
Okay, this question is from email. It's a question regarding dukkha. The Buddhist path promises the complete end of dukkha. And I am wondering if this is a promise in regards to this very life, or is it not until after death, or for an arahant? It appears from my perspective that the complete ending of dukkha cannot happen in this very life, no matter how enlightened one is. Even the Buddha, as described in the suttas, who was supposed to be as enlightened as one can be, still suffered on a number of occasions. He still had bodily pains, he got injured, he was aged, he got sick and died. All that would be considered conventional suffering, that being dukkha as the Buddha defined it.
Now, as long as you have wrong view, micchaditthi, wrong view, you cannot get rid of this kind of suffering, dukkha. Buddha never asked us to wait for another life to get rid of our dukkha. Dukkha can be overcome in this life. We must understand what is karma path and Dhammapath. You follow the karma path. By following karma path, you commit karma. Wholesome, unwholesome, imperturbable karma. Of course, when you commit karmas, you have suffering. So you learn to follow the Dhammapath. When you follow the Dhammapath, you can end your suffering in this very life. You have to understand Dhamma. And that is exactly what we have to do. This is a very big subject. I like to give a series of talk on this. The difference between Dhammapath and Karmapath. So for now I must say you can end your suffering in this life. As Buddha said, if you follow Dhammapath. If you don't understand Dhamma, how can you follow Dhammapath? And we are trying to understand through this series of talks a little bit of Dhammapath. Right understanding is the beginning. And we have given almost 12 or 13 talks on this subject. And I'm trying slowly and gradually to make the path clear for you to have Dhammapath. And then you can see how you can eliminate suffering in this very life. My dear friend, whoever asked the question, in order to end suffering in this very life, all you have to do is to get rid of your craving, ignorance. These are the two very, very big enemies. Mara. These two Maras are trapped. Maras trapped you. You are trapped in the Mara's trap. So long as you are trapped in the Mara's trap, you think you cannot attain liberation in this life. That is the Mara's trick. When you are trapped in the trap, Mara would not let you go. And therefore try to understand Dhammapath. You are still following the Karma path. Try to separate yourself from Karma path to Dhammapath and understand the difference between these two. And I must say with certainty, with assurance, the Buddha's teaching is for us to liberate ourselves in this very life. In this very life. Some people who are very confused think that they can attain liberation in next life or life after that, and at the time of Maitreya Buddha. They insult this Buddha, insult this Dhamma because of their ignorance. They have to be more wise and mindful to understand Dhamma, to liberate themselves in this very life. I repeatedly say, my dear friend, you can attain liberation in this life, overcoming your suffering, dukkha in this very life. It is a very long method. There is no magic, no quick pills, But we must start with understanding. Once we understand Dhamma, you are in the Dhammapath. Even the Noble Eightfold Path has two paths, Karmapath and Dhammapath. Noble Eightfold Path, Karmapath and Dhammapath. These two are very clearly explained in this entire series of talks in Mahachattarya Sutta, in Majjhima Nikaya. I ask you to see, when you follow Karmapath, there are Sāsava, Punya Bhagya, Upadivepakha. Right understanding with Sāsava, with Asava, influxes, Punya Bhagya on the side of committing karma, punya, upadivepakha, and eventually holding on to something, clinging to something. It bears fruit in clinging to something. And still that is a kind of right view, right understanding of the nature of karma, right understanding the nature of punya, right understanding of the nature of clinging. That also is a kind of right understanding. You are following that path, that is a karma path, and you cannot get rid of your suffering. So you have to switch on to Dhammapath. That is Viveka-nisitam, Viraga-nisitam, Nirodha-nisitam, Osagga Parinaming. That is the path I am trying to explain in these talks. I will explain all these things later on, but today there may be more questions. And I simply want to tell you that you can liberate yourself, get rid of your suffering in this very life. That is not a magic, and you can create that magic when you follow this. Okay, another question.
Bhante, while meditating, I feel sort of a round pain in the middle of my forehead. What is that?
Numb feeling in your forehead?
A sort of a pain in the middle of the forehead.
Right, because you are forcing yourself to concentrate. Don't focus mind on to concentrate. When you feel pressure on your head in frontal lobe of your brain, it is because of the functioning of your nerves. Nerves becoming very, very tight. There may be some other things happening, maybe your mucus or air or something. But it has nothing to do with meditation. But when you meditate, you notice it more clearly. And therefore, try to pay attention to your mindfulness rather than trying to concentrate. Concentrated must come very naturally. It doesn't come by force. No force concentration is recommended by the Buddha. We have to make effort to avoid making unnecessary effort. Effort to avoid unnecessary effort. That means gentle, be gentle and kind and soft, because you gain concentration only when you relax. When you let go of your tightness, uptightness, rigidity, you have to let go. So when you feel this, you have to relax and then pay attention to your rising and falling of feelings. And this tightness you feel in the forehead is not going to be permanent. It is impermanent. Pleasure is impermanent, pain is impermanent. That is the beauty of impermanence. Impermanence makes you relax rather than make you uptight. Okay, I have time for another question. What is the next question?
Okay, a short one. Are the 4 stages of enlightenment impermanent?
4th stage of enlightenment.
Are they impermanent?
Enlightenment?
The 4 stages, are they impermanent?
4 stages?
Yeah, like a stream enter.
Okay. No. They are in one package, I must say. When you attain stream entry, you just begin to feel liberation. When you attain one's return, you don't lose that liberation that you achieved first. You build up the liberation by weakening 2 fetters. When you overcome 2 fetters, additional 2 fetters, then you are still more liberated. When you attain full enlightenment, you are fully liberated. Once you are liberated, you are liberated. What is there to lose? What is there to be impermanent? Your body, feeling, perceptions are there. They are impermanent anyway. Whether you attain enlightenment or not, they are impermanent. But enlightenment, that is Nibbana, there is nothing to be impermanent. So it is a question that you ask very, maybe not understanding the nature. I'm glad you asked the question. This question might have arisen in other people's mind as well, and so I'm glad you asked the question. Okay, is that the last question, Veronique?
Yeah, there are several other questions. One is quite big. How does the Buddha explain rebirth? And I think you've covered that in several talks. I don't know if you want to hold on to that one for now, or if you would like me to go to a next one.
What is the next? Yeah, we can hold. We can put aside this question and ask if there is another easy question.
Yes. Dear Bhante, I am attached to my children who need my attachment to grow up healthy. As I see it, they need to know that I am attached to them to feel secure. But I also need to detach from everything if I want to attain enlightenment in this life. So how can I reconcile these 2 things, which are actually 2 of my biggest priorities?
I think that's very good as a parent. As a parent, definitely we have to take care of your children. That's very, very important because children needs help. At the same time, you must think, I take care of my children in order for them to grow well and healthily, but I must not develop my clinging to my children. You are taking care of your children with metta, with your compassion, and you are, being responsible, and so forth is a wonderful thing. That's very necessary. At the same time, you can do all these things without clinging. You have to think these children are growing. They will grow and move slowly move away, and they will begin their life separately, independently, and then I must let them go, let them live their life. After that, I should not interfere in their life unless when they are sick or when they need some help, I help them. Otherwise, I keep them, I let them live their life. And slowly you prepare your mind to be detached from them. That is how you have to do it. And then you must fully commit to your detachment and practice while sitting, standing, walking, even taking care of your children as adults. Sometimes some things you may have to do, you can do that. So anytime you have to look at your mind and see how much you suffer as soon as greed arises in your mind. How much you suffer as much as clinging arises in your mind. If you have 10 moments of clinging, you have 10 moments of suffering. If you have 100 moments of clinging, you have 100 moments of suffering. If you have 1,000 moments of clinging, you have 1,000 moments of suffering. That much you must understand. That is how you gradually follow the Dhammapath from your Karma path. I think that is enough for today. I am very happy that you asked me these questions. All these are good questions. Good question. And I want to end this session. And I want to wish all those who are suffering in hospitals be free from the suffering, return to their normal health, continue their Dhamma practice, follow Dhammapath, and attain liberation. And those very compassionate doctors, nurses, hospital staffs who take care of these people may continue their wonderful service and live long in very good health to continue their wonderful service and follow Dhammapath and attain liberation. And those who lost their loved ones may be grieving, may they be free from grief and return to normal life, continue their Dhamma practice and liberate from samsara. Others, generous people who supported various projects to help people, may they continue their wonderful service, live long in very good health, continue Dhamma practice and attain liberation. And everybody else whose category I have not mentioned, all of them, plus you all who are participating in this, that gives me encouragement to give these talks, and thereby I learn a lot to help you more, and therefore I want to wish you all to be peaceful, happy, live in good health for a long time, practice Dhamma and liberate from samsara. Thank you.
Thank you, Bhante.
Thank you,
Sadhu,
Bhante.
sadhu, sadhu.
Thank you.
Thank
Sadhu, sadhu.
you, Bhante.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Bhante.
Thank you,
Bhante.
Bhante.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Thank you, Bhante.
Siddhaveva, sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Thank you, Bhante.
Sadhu, sadhu,
Great,
sadhu, sadhu. May you live
Sadhu,
long.
sadhu, sadhu.